This is my 2000 7.3 diesel. I've done a fair amount of stuff to it already. So I'm kind of behind the game as far as keeping you guys up to date. But we'll start with some of the small stuff that I've done. I have done the coolant filter on and off right there, so when you go to change it out, you don't have it pissing all over you, even if it is hot, which is super nice. I did have the delete on here for the blow-by, but it really sucked as far as I like to drive with my windows down, so it sucked when we were always getting crosswinds, and I'd have it, pissing out down there, and it would just roll right in the cab, and it was unpleasant for me and the guest I had in the vehicle. So I went with as I said here before, if I can find my flashlight. As I said here before, I've done a few things to it. Got the trans out. Clutches burn up real bad, and the thing just wasn't building pressure at all. And then when it would just bang into gear, or sometimes I wouldn't have any gear. So I got the trans out, but I installed the catch can right there. It is a Mishimoto. Yeah, I got a little bit of rust in here, not too bad. Yeah, the truck is solid overall for being a 2000, over 300,000 miles on it, or about 300,000. I can't remember exactly where I sit, but did the rear main seal. That was dripping. It wasn't leaking, but it was dripping. And I did the riffraff banjo bolts. I will do a video on my up pipes when the time comes, but as of right now, I'm currently working on my oil cooler. As you can see, it's a little wet. It's leaking at the front. So what you want to do is you want to drain the truck full of, drain all your oil, drain your coolant out. This right here, I don't know if you can tell, but this is your heater. That plugs into there, and you got this little washer that kind of goes over the threads to keep it from slipping out. That goes on there. But you got these 3 bolts on this side, 1, 2, and 3. And you have 2 at the front, 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. It's right underneath your power steering and right on the inside of your coolant line up there. Not too terrible to get at. Once again, I have the trans out, so if you guys don't have this stuff done and you're like, well, money is a little bit of an object, I highly recommend you to bite the bullet and do this when you have the trans out. I don't know if I told you guys this, but these are 10 millimeter, and you guys want to be extremely careful not to round these out when you're taking them off. I didn't have one slip, thank God. They all came out fairly easy. Back one super easy, bottom one super easy, top one on this side, which was also the hardest one to get at, would not come off for the life of me. And you only got so much room in there. You can't use any sort of torquing or use anything to get any leverage of torque on it. I couldn't use my impact. So, yeah, just use a couple rags on a 10 millimeter wrench because it's the only thing that can really get in there. And had to give it hell. Finally came loose. And as it comes loose, you guys want to be careful because there is coolant inside of it. And it'll start pissing all over the place. I had a catch pan down there. But suffice it to say, it did not do very good considering now I have a pool under my truck. But I want to bring to your attention that you see that piece sticking out. That's your heater coil. Mine fell straight out. But you want to make sure you're not pulling on that straight or backwards. You want to have that come out completely because you do not want to bend that, or else you're going to have to buy a new one. Some people recommend unscrewing it right there, and the whole unit comes out as one. You don't have to do that, but that is another method. But yeah, that is where we are at. I'm just letting her drip dry here, so I'm not making more of a mess, and gonna get this cleaned up before I proceed on any further. But you do not want to strip that out because then this simple job became a heck of a lot harder. And if you don't have the tools for it, well, if you're not a handyman, you might have to take it into a shop, which you'd have to tighten it back up and send her on her way and have a shop do it. And that will not be cheap. But I will get back with you on further update. So update here. When you pull the cooler out, you got these rings in here. You want to make sure those rings are out, or else when you go to put the new one in, you're going to have a hell of a time seating it. Use like a whole can of brake cleaning that one and this one. And you just kind of want to go through on these surfaces right here. Trying to get this light just right. I'm wearing it on my head. You want to go through here and just get this flat. You know, you don't got to get it perfectly. There you go. You don't got to get it perfectly clear or, you know, clean, I guess, as long as it is completely flat and smooth. Some of that surface stuff, but it feels smooth as glass. Did the same on this one. You want to turn that up real quick. Yeah, there you go. Did the same on this one. Get it real nice and clean. That's very important. And then probably gonna mount the front one on by itself to the truck up in there. Mount that one on, get it, you know, seated. Gonna rub some oil in there, and we're just gonna tap the cooler on with a rubber mallet, get it nice and seated, and then that is when we'll put. Yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, it's kind of you do it your own way. You know, you can do it. Put the front on. Some people do that. You got to take the heating element out, so you can slide it in there because this has to be, you know, pushed on. If you take that out, you can put this on, put the cooler on, and then push that one on. Or you can mount the whole thing together and then slide it up in there. The front sliding up in there, it is a little bit of a pain. You got to kind of get it on an angle and go upward and turn it and wiggle it forward, and it will go in there. I would show you doing this, but I don't have my tripod currently for my camera to show you this while I'm doing it. So I'm just trying to explain it as best I can, and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, so what you're going to do is when you pry on these tabs, you got these O-rings. Of course, you're going to put the new ones on in the exact place where you took the old ones off. You're going to want to clean this surface really well, as well as the surface inside inside the end housings of each end that bolt on. And you're going to want to clean the surface up as good as you can. Don't use anything harsh or anything. Use some very high grit sandpaper, a little bit of brake cleaner, and a rag. But you don't want to create any abrasions or anything. You might still have like some discoloration or something on the surface, but as long as it is completely smooth. If you go over with your fingernail and it catches on nothing, if that's completely smooth, that's what you want. Get that nice, clean, and dry. And it comes with gaskets. You put the new gaskets on to the housing. And I will say this, it is a little bit of a pain. So when you, like I was saying, you got the tabs on each side, which you got to have lined up in that. And that's going to help you, because what's going to happen is you got each end that go on the block. And even if you try to eyeball it, when you finally get it, rotate it and slide it back up in place where it's supposed to go, you're going to have an issue with each side mating back to the block completely flat. And that's where you're going to have a little issue, and you're not going to be able to turn that by hand. It's not going to happen. So those tabs is really going to help that. What you're going to have to do is, if you can't get them to mount flat, do not put a bolt in there and try to tighten it and hope that it will, seal itself back down. Because if it doesn't do that and you end up cross-threading going back in that block, well, now you just got a bigger problem, and you're going to have to try to rechase threads, and you might even have a bigger problem on your hand, because trying to get a drill in there to rechase threads, or even trying to get a ratchet in, especially up in the front, that's very tight. And I will say the front is the part, you can get the back lined up nice, because as you can see, I had my trans out, so it makes it easier. But if you don't have your trans out, you can get up in there still pretty decently with that on. I've heard of some people removing the wheel well liners, the front driver tire and the wheel well liner, and that allows them to get in there a little bit and access it. Now, you can get the back seated nicely, but the front might not. And if it doesn't, what you're going to have to do is take it back out and try to turn it just a little bit. You're going to have somebody hold it, maybe put a belt around it or something to hold it still, and try to turn that just a smidge. You're going to want to use a lot of oil around the rings and stuff, because if you don't, trying to adjust it and slide the thing on, that's going to be a huge pain in the butt. I'll tell you that right now. Anywho, I think that will take care of this video, and you guys have a good day, and I will see you on the next one.